Guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you like college football, especially if you like the Florida Gators or the Georgia Bulldogs, because this is my next prediction. I know it's only week 2, and we got a lot of football to play, but I'll go ahead and do this prediction now. That way this video will probably blow up. As you all know, I have a lot of Florida fans that watch my stuff. Given that I got a Seminole jersey on. Go Noles, by the way. We're undefeated. Florida, as you all know, publicly I picked them to beat Utah. But in my personal life, I had a few bets with a Gator fan and another Seminole fan. And I lost some money because at the last minute I picked Utah because I thought, well, they're a top 10 team. They're too physical. They have a coaching staff that's already been there. They got players and this and that, and they still lost. Obviously, the weather was a big factor in that game. But Florida is clearly a really good team. To the very least, they're a top 15 team. Maybe top 20 if they had a bad game. They're still a really good football team. And Anthony Richardson is really a good player. I underestimated him a lot. I really did. His athleticism, his ability to break tackles, to escape tackles, to throw the football downfield, his composure in the game, and everything. Clearly an NFL quarterback. Now on to the Georgia Bulldogs. I underestimated their defense with Oregon. Who, by the way, I don't think Oregon's a bad team. I still think they're a top 15 quality team because just because they lost like that to someone like Georgia, I don't think they're going to get beat up by everybody they play. They're going to win most of their games. They might lose to Utah, given that Utah's not going to have to deal with that weather and play them like that. But that's just my opinion. I really want to make a prediction on this game because if out of everybody Georgia has to play, I think this is the team that has the best chance to beat Georgia. Florida, really good running game with Anthony Richardson. The running backs play really good. Obviously, they did pretty good with Utah, but Anthony Richardson was the main guy running. He's hard to tackle. Their passing game was really good. They got really good wide receivers. Third down offensively, they're pretty darn solid. They converted more than half of their third downs. They didn't have to punt a whole lot. Defensively, that's the problem with Florida. They don't tackle very well. They don't stop the run game very well. Their pass defense was not very good against Utah. They did get to seal the game with the interception, but other than that, they gave up a lot. Running and throwing. So that's a big red flag. And I don't know about y'all, but I noticed something in the Utah game. They defensively, they kind of got tired. Even though they got that pick to seal the game, it's just the way they gave up plays. They were wearing down. Against a Utah team, yes, it's top 10, but it's also obvious that Utah's players were tired too because of the weather that they were dealing with. Georgia's not going to have that problem. So that's a concern for me if I'm a Florida fan. Meaning, you're going to be playing another team like Georgia who's used to that kind of weather. You know, and I know it's later in the year, but still, there's no altitude thing or anything that Utah had to deal with. Utah always plays with the altitude, so when they have to go down south, it's a disadvantage. Georgia's not going to have that problem. Aside from the fact that Georgia has way more talent than Utah did. And if you want to look at something else, Georgia has dominated Florida lately. I think they've won. They won in 17, 18, 19. They lost in 2020 when Kyle Trask was the guy, and they beat him last year. So they've won 4 of the last 5 games. Not just that, but the talent difference that Georgia has. I think for Florida to win this game, they need to be able to run the football and throw the football when they need to on third down. Clearly, Georgia's defense, it looks like Georgia's national championship defense didn't go anywhere with how they looked with Oregon. That's what I expect out of them when they play everybody else. Their pass rush is just as good. Their run defense just as dominant, and everything was just as good. You know, and what's scary is they lost 8 starters. It didn't look like it, you know. So they look just as good, if not better. And that's going to get better throughout the year. I think Georgia should win this game simply because of the offense and Stetson Bennett's confidence, I guess. Now he knows he can get it done throwing the football. Now, I don't think he's going to have that much passing yardage against the Gators like he did with Oregon. But he's going to be able to complete passes. He's going to be able to get the ball out of his hands. He's going to be able to run because Florida's defense is not very good. He's going to be able to do really good. And Georgia's run game is just really good. They're going to run the football on Florida's defense. You know, if they had a hard time with Utah's offense when Utah was tired and was not accustomed to the weather, I know it's an excuse, but it's not. You know, Georgia's not going to have that problem with weather. They're going to have their way with Florida's defense. That will be the main problem. And even though I think Anthony Richardson is good, his defense is not going to do him any favors. They're going to give up a lot of scores. They're going to give up a lot of yardage and all that other stuff. And I think if anybody's defense can bottle up Anthony Richardson and slow him down, it's Georgia's because of the athletes they have, you know? Think about it. Bo Nix would run pretty well on other defenses, but never Georgia's. And it didn't change in this game when he was with Oregon. So as far as a score prediction, I don't think they'll beat them like they did Oregon just because of the rivalry and the intensity from both teams. I think Georgia would probably pull away in this game. Florida would be lucky to get 2 touchdowns. Again, Richardson's better than Bo Nix, so he'll execute better. He's not going to have the turnovers. I just think Georgia's defense will bottle him up and probably hold him to. He ain't getting no 100 yards on Georgia. He might get 40 or 50. He's lucky. Let's say he gets 40 or 50. He's going to get hit a lot in this game. He's going to be slowing down. I do think he can throw against Georgia enough, but it's not going to be to the point where he's going to be able to score back-to-back and keep up with Georgia's offense because Florida's defense is not good, okay? So, and I think he's going to turn the ball over at least once or twice, but that's going to be critical because Georgia's going to score, all right? So, given that their talent's better, I think they're going to be a better team as far as offense and defensively. And I think Kirby Smart's a better coach than Billy Napier. And he's been coaching in the SEC a lot longer. The weather won't be a factor. I'd say 48-17, 41-17. Let's be fair. I think it's going to be close up until halftime. I think Georgia's going to pull away and win the game. They're going to be better coached. I just think they're a better team. Now, if Georgia shows up with their head swollen up, I think they'll still win this game anyway. It'll be closer than it should be. Maybe Florida will win by a point or a field goal, but they just ain't beating Georgia. That's just from what I saw. You know, Georgia's dominant. I don't know if they'll win the national title, but I do think they will beat Florida again.